Waging war on corruption. Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network.
Well, it's the final hour of this Friday edition, blasting out on the AM and FM dial, shortwave, XM radio, and the internet. And for the rest of the hour, we're very honored to be joined by Harrison Schmitt, or Jack Schmitt, and he's an American geologist, former NASA astronaut, university professor, and a U.S. senator for one term. He is the last of the Apollo astronauts to arrive and set foot on the moon, and he took some of the most famous photos. The bio goes on and on. We'll talk about some of that while he's on with us. But the main reason he's on today, and again, we're very honored to have him, is that he has been very outspoken, thank God, against global warming being man-made. We've had a lot of climatologists and a lot of researchers and sunspot experts and all these different fields, and 37,000 of them sent letters a few months ago to the House of Representatives, and they wouldn't even let them testify. The media ignored them, and then they used a few thousand scientists on the UN payroll to say we've got to totally change our way of life. Carbon dioxide's a deadly poison. It's a national security issue. And astronaut Jack Schmitt has spoken out against that with his scientific training in PhD in geology from Harvard University and all his other scientific research. And the bio goes on. And he reportedly took the famous photo of the marble, blue marble of the Earth from the moon. And so it's pretty neat to have him on. We're going to a break in a few minutes, but let's go ahead and introduce him. It's great to have you on, Mr. Schmitt.
It's my pleasure and privilege to be with you today.
I was flattered to learn that you'd actually heard of the show before.
Oh, yeah. We try to keep track out here.
Well, Mr. Schmitt, it's great to have you. Let's just launch into man-made global warming. I mean, they were growing grapes thousands of years ago in Britain, but they're not now. All the evidence shows it gets hotter and colder, and Mars ice caps get smaller, and then they get bigger. They're getting bigger again. Isn't it the sun, or am I wrong?
Well, all the evidence is that there's a solar connection. The amplification mechanism has not been determined by observation as yet, but the observations that scientists, who you might call field scientists, the people who actually look at what nature's doing rather than trying to model it, those observations clearly indicate, in my mind, and I think in thousands of other minds, that the ultimate connection is with the sun. Now, how small variations in solar irradiance are amplified into significant changes in ocean temperature, significant changes in atmospheric temperature, global cloud cover, and the like is still, I would have to say, in the realm of hypotheses rather than theory. However, there's a very good hypothesis, and that is that it's the solar magnetic fields that vary with solar irradiance that are really determining the flux of cosmic rays into the atmosphere and therefore the amount of clouds that form.
And they're forming what, the nuclei? Yeah,
they form when they interact with molecules of oxygen and nitrogen in the Earth's atmosphere. You develop charged particles that then attract water vapor and become the nucleus for cloud formation. And when the sun is relatively inactive, for example, like it is right now, then the magnetic fields that protect us from cosmic rays are depressed. And you get more cosmic ray interaction with the atmosphere, more clouds, and therefore the clouds reflect more sunlight, and you end up with a cooling trend. And we've had that, as most people in the Northern Hemisphere at least now realize, we've had that for almost 10 years. You may have noted that there was a recent announcement that, I guess it's Al Gore's hometown in Tennessee, has had its coldest year on record so far.
Yes, there's been a lot of record. But not just that. Then the Al Gore people have been caught faking buoys and other weather stations, faking higher temperatures the last few years. Our guest is also the author of Return to the Moon. He's Harrison Schmitt. We're very honored to have him. He is an astronaut.
He's the T-Rex of political talk. Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network.
Well, we're really lucky today for the rest of the hour to have Dr. Harrison Schmitt, Jack Schmitt, American geologist, former NASA astronaut, university professor and former U.S. senator. And he also, of course, walked on the moon on Apollo 17. And don't worry, we're going to talk about that before he leaves us today. But the big crisis at hand is the hoax, the manufactured crisis of global warming. And I have Club of Rome documents, all that. We'll go over it with him, where they admit this is just their pretext to turn us into the Soviet Union and micromanage the entire carbon cycle. But I guess a lot of people out there aren't biologists or aren't geologists and don't understand this. But he's here with us today to go over the science of that, because he's bravely, because you get branded a heretic, come out against this hoax. And so, Dr. Schmitt, again, let's continue going into why you decided to go public and start talking about this whole carbon tax and the science behind supposed man-made global warming.
Well, the primary reason that I and thousands of other observers of nature, if you will, I'm a field geologist, have become more active is twofold. One is that we are concerned about the misuse of science, and particularly the misuse of modeling of a very complex system called climate that is so complex that it really can't be done. And in fact, there are many people who are experts in modeling, astrophysicists and others, that have said the same thing. Freeman Dyson, for example, that the climate system is just too complex to model, and when you get into it, you find that the many assumptions that are made in order to just make what they call the physics work are just invalid. And any tests that you make against those models, against reality, have so far indicated the models are wrong. And so many of us just feel that although they're called climate scientists, they're not using science in the right way, and particularly modeling science in the right way. Models are very helpful in providing insights, but you should not base predictions of the future on these extremely complex models that are filled with assumptions. So that, number one, we've been concerned about the misuse of science. But I think more fundamentally, this misuse of science has led to politicians and ideologues to try to gain control of the American economy, and indeed the global economy, by scaring people. Now, the science is quite clear that there has been, since 1660, about a half a degree warming every 100 years. That is a natural cycle that represents the Earth coming out of what was called a little ice age, an extremely cold period for the Earth, back in the beginning about 1400. If you want to read some of the history of the American Revolutionary War, you will realize, like the book Sam Adams by McCullough, you realize how damn cold it was back then. And that was partly that we were just moving out of the little ice age very slowly, and it was still very cold. And so the natural warming is clearly happening, but there is absolutely no evidence, no observational evidence whatsoever, that the increase in carbon dioxide that has been measured in the last 50 years has had anything to do with that. Primarily because the warming started before the Industrial Revolution ever began. Now, where is that carbon dioxide coming from? Well, it's probably coming mostly out of the oceans, because the oceans are getting warmer. There's a lag in that process of the oceans giving up carbon dioxide as they warm, but nevertheless, and it can be a lag of a few centuries, but nevertheless, that's probably where most of that rise in CO2 is